Video games are fun. They are popular. They even teach kids skills. They also provide very important social connections. However, the ADHD brain responds to video games differently, and they very quickly become problematic. Here is why that's the case and what to do so your son or daughter can successfully manage this coveted privilege. I'm Annie Adjan. I'm a certified ADHD coach. I work one-on-one with teenagers, college students, and their parents to help them understand ADHD, manage it really well, and tap into its many gifts. By now, you probably know a little bit about dopamine. It's that very important neurotransmitter in the brain that is on the low side in brains with ADHD. It's not the only chemical in the brain that's impacted by ADHD, but it is the biggest one and the most consequential. You also probably know that dopamine production can be increased with exercise, cold plunges, by finishing tasks, especially the hard ones, being in service to others, listening to music, and meditating. Those are all examples of life-giving and healthy sources of dopamine. On the flip side, there are many sources of cheap dopamine, like eating junk food, doom scrolling or Netflix binging, gambling, partaking in drugs and alcohol, as well as risky behaviors like speeding or sneaking out in the nighttime. These are called cheap sources of dopamine because they require little to no effort in order to get that desperately desired dopamine hit. You get what you pay for though, and there are no benefits, only damage done when kids resort to cheap dopamine. Teens with ADHD, they do know the difference between sources of healthy dopamine and cheap, harmful ones. But these poor kids have two things working against them. ADHD is characterized by task avoidance, aversion to doing hard things, or what I call non-preferred tasks. And it's characterized by inherent impulsivity, which is one of the core traits and most functionally impairing features of this condition. Stopping to consider, gee, in the long term, is it better for me to go outside and walk or run a mile, or spend the next 10 minutes selecting my football fantasy team while snacking on Oreos, is just never gonna happen. At least not yet. When left to their own devices, your teenager with ADHD is always going to choose the easiest, most readily available source of dopamine stimulus and shovel as much in as they can. And it's not their fault. That's ADHD. So when a teen is playing video games, there is an explosive amount of cheap dopamine. What teen would say no to that? And what teen is going to walk away from that very easily? You get the idea. Additionally, the more time the ADHD brain eats up this rapidly dispensing dopamine like a lab rat drinking straight from the sugar water, the weaker the brain becomes at doing hard things. Hard things, those non-preferred tasks, they require more cerebral effort, more concentration, more focus and attention and energy and persistence than neurotypical brains. They also fatigue more quickly, and they also take longer to recover. Researchers have also seen that after a gaming session, other chemicals like serotonin, which links to a feeling of well-being, takes a hard hit and plummets, which could explain why kids are so grumpy right after doing something that makes them so happy. You don't have to strip the games away from your teen. That would be a recipe for anger and hostility. However, you do need to talk to your son or daughter about the impact of excessive gaming or long periods of gaming. Set up a schedule with specified times they can play and help them always practice prioritizing homework, chores, self-care before gaming, especially if you allow them to play during the school week. Most of my clients, the teenagers who have ADHD who I coach, simply can't regulate their game playing on school nights, and they just simply have to wait until the weekend to enjoy this pastime. If your teen becomes angry more often than not, or refuses to turn off the console when time's up, that is a sign that they're not yet ready for that responsibility, or in this case, privilege. Set them up for success though. Tell them you don't want to take away their joy, their entertainment, their social time gaming with their friends, and they do need to show you that they can adhere to the times permitted for video games, and they also need to show you that they can wrap it up at the agreed upon time without turning from Dr. Jekyll into Mr. Hyde. Collaborate with them for mutually agreed upon days and times when they get to play. You can also create some if-then conditions. For example, if at our weekly Friday night student-led homework checks together, there are no missing assignments, then you get to enjoy your gaming on Saturdays from 1 to 4, 1 to 5. And please take some good breaks in between. If your teen is able to stay emotionally regulated and they can handle an hour of gaming during the school week, be sure to write out what needs to be done first so that you help them sharpen the executive functions of task completion, planning, and prioritization. Also, require evidence, like a picture of the empty dishwasher after they did that chore, or a picture of them walking the dog. Try to keep it lighthearted. Praise them for getting the to-do stuff done without you having to remind them many times. And then have them send a picture of themselves gaming. At first, they're gonna complain about having to show you everything, from their submitted homework assignments to their folded clothes. Tell them that you absolutely believe them when they say they've done it already, and that in life, they're always going to have to show their work. And with ADHD, 2 pairs of eyes are better than 1. I have a wonderful family that I work with, and their 16-year-old is a big gamer, but he can't control his emotions around it with any real consistency. So at the beginning of the school year, the parents took video games away Monday through Thursday and just let him game on the weekends. But he was miserable. He was depressed, isolating, saying that he has no friends at school and only friends that he has are online. He's a good student and only occasionally has homework. He utilizes his class time well, so there wasn't an academic reason that he shouldn't play video games after school. So this is what we arranged, and it worked. After school, their son shows mom and dad his school pages, Google Classroom, and the grade portal so they can see that everything's been complete. All homework done for tomorrow. Then he gets 1 hour of video games, even on school nights. When the hour is over, dad comes up and sits down next to him, grabs the controls, and plays the game with his son for 30 minutes. Then they shut it down together and they go to the dinner table together. It's like dad is his body double, where the son can't transition out of the preferred task into the next task. So this way the student earns his gaming, enjoys time with his friends, and doesn't have a meltdown when he's supposed to go through that transition. So now you understand. Remember, video games artificially boost dopamine through fast-paced rewards, constant feedback, and the novelty of it all. No wonder the ADHD brains are so drawn to it. But an important part of the brain that's in charge of the resilience and tenacity in tackling challenging tasks, it's called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. It's getting weaker and weaker as the gaming hours get longer. That atrophy, coupled with executive function deficits like delaying gratification and inhibitory control, make for a double whammy for teens with ADHD. Parents' full-fledged disordered gaming addiction is very common in ADHD. I coach adults in their 20s with ADHD who can't keep a job because they stay awake until 1 or 2 in the morning gaming and they can't sever that attachment, which so often turns into an addiction. So this is a serious area that requires your serious attention and serious management sooner than later. Slowly evolve into very well-established, understood, and healthy boundaries around gaming so your child can practice and ingrain these habits over several years before launching into their own independence. You're not fighting against video games. You are helping your teen build a brain that can handle video games. That's a huge difference. Your teen's love for gaming isn't the enemy. Unmanaged, unsupervised access to gaming is the problem. By understanding the neurobiology of ADHD and how it responds to cheap dopamine, you can shift from feeling powerless to becoming proactive. Work with your teen to create thoughtful boundaries. Make completing prioritized tasks part of the reward cycle, and keep reinforcing the skills that strengthen executive functioning, like time management, self-control, metacognition. Over time, your teenager can absolutely learn to manage that popular pastime of playing video games, not with punishment or shame, but with structure and collaboration, awareness and consistency. You've got this, and so will they. I urge you to please share this video with another parent who would benefit from understanding why video gaming is wreaking havoc in their home. I'm Annie Adjan, and I'm wishing you all A's in your every parenting endeavor.